What are you doing here? 5 words or less.
Out for a walk. Bitch.
Look at my poor neck. All bare and tender and exposed. All that blood just pumping away.
Giles, make us stop.
Really know just what you
Date?
want. With you, I don't ever feel calm.
Please.
I can feel the sweat inside my palm.
You are
Play with me
completely
like
off
cats and a
your
string.
bird. I mean,
You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings.
Of course it's yes.
You don't ever wanna
Buffy,
set me free.
Spike's
You know
completely
I'm
in love with
addicted to
you.
you, and it's twisted. You've been gifted with the evil voodoo. Got me coming
I will
back for
know
more,
you,
even when I
Buffy Slayer.
do. Dolls full of pins, pierce my heart
I
straight
will
through.
make your neck my chalice.
Got issues in my head, I
And
like
drink.
you in my bed, but you keep me on red. Oh, everything is like a test. I better not text.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer has to be one of my favorite shows I've watched as a teenager, and still is one of my go-to shows on my bad days. The series originally aired from 1997 to 2003 and was created by Joss Whedon. The show revolves around Buffy Summers, a young woman chosen to battle vampires, demons, and other supernatural forces. Buffy is the latest in a line of slayers empowered with enhanced strength and agility to fulfill her destiny of protecting the world from the forces of evil. The series begins with Buffy, played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, relocating to Sunnydale, a seemingly ordinary town built atop a hellmouth, which is a mystical convergence point of dark evil energy. With the help of her watcher, Rupert Giles, Buffy navigates the challenges of balancing her Slayer duties with a normal teenage life.
I will still have time to fight the forces of evil, okay? I just want to have a life. I want to do something normal.
She forms a close-knit group of friends, including the computer-savvy Willow, who later would become a powerful witch, the sarcastic Xander, and her two main love interests, Angel and Spike.
Always interrupting.
And your hair, what color do they call that? Radioactive?
Never much cared for you, Liam. Even when we were evil.
Cared for you less.
Fine. Good.
Throughout its 7 seasons, Buffy the Vampire Slayer explores themes of empowerment, friendship, love, and the struggle between good and evil. The show is known for its unique blend of horror, humor, and drama, often using supernatural elements as metaphors for real-life issues. Buffy the Vampire Slayer has left a lasting impact on television, praised for its innovating storytelling, strong character arcs, and its exploration of themes that resonate with a diverse audience. The series continues to have a dedicated fan base and remains a cultural touchstone in the realm of supernatural and fantasy television. Chapter 1: The History of Spike. The character of Spike, who is played by actor James Masters, first appeared on Buffy the Vampire Slayer during the premiere of the 2nd season, in an episode called School Hard. Fun fact, the season aired when I was 4 years old. Obviously I didn't start watching it then because, well, I had parents, but I became a huge fan by the time I was 7. I definitely had no business watching the show at that age. William the Bloody, often known as Spike, earned his infamous nickname ironically as a result of his poetic abilities. Yes, that's right, his poetry was so bad that it was called Bloody Awful. And from then on, it simply kind of just took off.
You're radiant. Better.
Pierre for an hors d'oeuvre, sir?
Oh, quickly. I'm the very spirit of vexation. What's another word for gleaming?
People were known to say that you could actually drive a railway spike through your head because of his poetry. That sentence, however, eventually got shortened to just Spike. He would gain other nicknames throughout his appearance on the show, with my favorite being Blondie Bear and Captain Peroxide. William the unsuccessful poet would turn into a vampire after meeting Drusilla, a psychic vampire who was borderline insane, who in turn was sired by Angel in London's Victorian era. Angel, Drew, Spike, and Darla, Angel's girlfriend, would create a somewhat chaotic family until Angel would go on to get a soul, at which point they would part ways. Although a vampire, William would become somewhat of an anomaly among new vampires, who once turned evil frequently took great pleasure in murdering those closest to them. Spike, on the other hand, was always very devoted to his one remaining family member, his mother, and in order to protect her from tuberculosis, he chooses to turn her into a vampire. However, after turning her, she would go on to abuse him verbally, mock him, and even suggest that he harbored unnatural feelings towards her. All of this would drive him to eventually drive a stake through her heart. During his career as a vampire, he would go on to kill 2 slayers.
He's forged 2 slayers in the last century, and he's killed them both.
The last Slayer I killed, she begged for her life.
Sin Rong in the 1900s, followed by Nikki Wed in 1977. He would get his famous black leather coat from Nikki, which he would wear throughout his appearance on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Chapter 2: A New Villain. As mentioned earlier, Spike would make his first appearance along with Drusilla in the 3rd episode of Season 2 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The pair are introduced as a new threat for Buffy to battle. Joss Whedon, the creator of the series, decided to include his character on a regular basis due to his popularity, even though he was first presented as a disposable villain. Spike visits Sunnydale in an attempt to assist Drusilla with her, well, condition.
I plant them, but they always die. Everything I put in the ground withers and dies.
Hoping that the energy of Hellmouth might help in restoring her health. But soon after arriving, he finds out that there is a new Slayer in the area, and he decides to add the Slayer's death to his list of accomplishments. Throughout the 2nd season, Spike becomes increasingly obsessed with killing Buffy. He comes close a couple of times, but ultimately he fails.
Hi, honey. I'm home.
Spike and Drusilla would be delighted to discover that Angel is also in town. However, as soon as it's revealed that Angel is dating Buffy Summers, the current Slayer, those feelings quickly change into disgust. Things would change though when Angel would go on to experience a moment of release or a moment of true happiness during his first intimate moment with Buffy, causing him to lose his soul. He would join Spike and Drusilla in their wicked ways, and just like the old days, the gang is back together.
I'm back.
As Angel puts on dark eyeliner in an effort to reflect his new soulless personality, he becomes a complete douchebag. He flirts with Spike's girl, Drusilla, and mocks him every chance he gets. It really makes sense now why Spike left him 2 decades ago. Frustrated with Angel's persistent attempt to steal his girlfriend, and concerned that Angel might truly be successful in bringing about the end of the world, a world which has a lot of Spike's favorite things such as dog racing, Manchester United, and of course people.
Billions of people walking around like Happy Meals with legs.
I just love Spike. He decides to join forces with Buffy and her friends to fight off Angel. As the 2nd season comes to an end, Angel is defeated and Spike and Drusilla leave town.
God, he's gonna kill her.
I really enjoyed watching Spike during Season 2. He was evil in all of the best ways. His weird but sweet relationship with Drusilla was fascinating to watch. And his continuous attempts to kill Buffy, although unsuccessful, were fun. Much respect to him for cutting his losses and running away after each fight rather than sticking around and getting staked. As the debut of Spike comes to an end, fans would become obsessed with the character, which was not part of Joss Whedon's plan at all. Actor James Masters fought to keep his character on the show for as long as possible, despite the series creator insistence that he would not overstay his welcome. In an interview with The Observer, Masters would be quoted saying, "I was pulling out all the stops in order not to get killed off." He continued to say that the series creator would refer to him as a soulless vampire. Vampires on this show are a metaphor for all trials of being a teenager. I'm not interested in vampires that we feel for. Masters knew he would need to approach the character from a different aspect if he wanted to win the audience over.
I started getting fan mail and everything. Everybody was very pleased. And Josh took me aside and said, "Dude, this is not the Spike show. It's not going to be the Spike show."
Spike was originally written as a soulless, one-dimensional vampire and a bad boyfriend to Drusilla. Rather, he emphasized his character's affection for the unstable Drew, lending him an unexpected depth. One sentence in particular, which came to symbolize the romantic sensibility of his role, was modified by the actor. When Drusilla is naming all the stars in the scene, he gently corrects her.
"You can't see the stars, love. That's the ceiling. Also, it's day."
I can see them.
Needless to say, all of his efforts would work, as not only would he join the next 5 seasons of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but he also would have a recurring role in the spin-off series Angel, becoming a fan favorite in both shows. Chapter 3 Spike Returns. During the 8th episode of the 3rd season, Spike would make his return to Sunnydale, feeling depressed and resorting to alcohol. After Drusilla dumps him for a chaos demon. Due to him fighting alongside Buffy in the previous season, James Masters get to showcase his incredible comedic talent during this episode, making the character lovable and truly his own. Fueled by anger and alcohol, Spike decides to take revenge on Buffy and Angel, who he blames for his failed relationship. In my favorite scene of the episode, Spike ends up at Buffy's house, bearing his soul to her mother.
She's out of her mind. That's what I miss most about her.
When Angel tries to get Joyce to invite him into the house so he can protect her, Spike taunts him in a scene which truly made me laugh. Spike comes to the realization that Drew left him because she saw him as weak, and he has the perfect plan to fix this.
I'll find her wherever she is, tie her up, torture her, till she likes me again.
With that, Spike exits Season 3 once again, leaving a strong impression on fans of the series. Viewers of the show would be delighted to see Spike make an appearance in the 3rd episode of Season 4, where once again he is up to no good. He goes back to Sunnydale in pursuit of the mysterious gem of Amara, which is said to grant vampires incredible powers.
This gem is everything. I came back to Sunnydale for it, a place which has witnessed some truly spectacular kickings of my ass.
The gem turns out to be a ring which equips Spikes with extra strength as well as the ability to go outside in the sunlight. Sadly though, much like his other schemes, this wouldn't work out for him. Things would get even worse for Spike when he is kidnapped by an organization known as the Initiative, who proceeds to plant a cerebral microchip in his head. This chip will punish him with extreme pain whenever he harms or attempts to harm any humans. Spike discovers this when he attempts to take revenge on Buffy by biting her best friend Willow. This leads to a really funny scene where Spike's inability to, perform comes into question.
I don't understand. This sort of thing's never happened to me before.
Maybe you were nervous.
I felt all right when I started. Let's try again.
Humiliated with his inability to inflict harm and feed, Spike hits rock bottom and resorts to asking Buffy and her friends for help, thus becoming, in my opinion, the best part of Season 4. The whole Initiative plotline was extremely boring, and Riley, Buffy's new boyfriend, is really unlikable and has zero chemistry with her, making their scenes difficult to watch. So I was really thankful to have Spike delivering lines such as these.
What Caesar did, he's not going around saying, I came, I conquered, I felt really bad about it. The history of the world is not people making friends. You had better weapons, and you massacred them. End of story.
Spike reaches the lowest moment of his 126 years of living when he is made to live with Xander and even share his clothes with him against his will. This worsens his depression and leads him to try to stake himself in order to end his misery. Thankfully though, he is stopped by Xander and Willow. In one of my absolute favorite episodes of the season, Something Blue, Buffy's best friend Willow, who's experimenting with her witch powers and dealing with heartbreak after breaking up with her boyfriend, resorts to casting a spell to make her sadness and frustration go away. However, the spell goes extremely wrong. One of the unintended side effects of the spell befalls Spike, who is currently locked up at Giles' house and bickering non-stop with Buffy. The two end up madly in love, and Spike even proposes. The chemistry between Buffy and Spike is undeniable, and this whole thing leads to comedic gold.
How about a daytime ceremony? Hard.
Fabulous. Enjoy your honeymoon with the big pile of dust.
In the next couple of episodes, Spike would earn the trust of Buffy and her friends, even working with them on a couple of missions, although he still has no problems working against them if the right opportunity comes by. Spike would continue to appear in nearly all of the episodes of Season 4. During the 16th episode, another Slayer known as Faith gains control of Buffy's body. She would go on to toy with Spike's feelings as the viewers get another hint of the insane chemistry between Buffy and Spike. All in all, despite a few betrayals, Spike would end Season 4 by becoming a reluctant member of the Buffy gang, having provided much-needed comedic relief and made this otherwise forgettable season one of my favorite of the series.
Can any one of your damn little Scooby Club at least try to remember that I hate you all?
Chapter 4 An Unlikely Romance. With the end of season 4, Spike's character evolved from that of a villain into something far more. He was adored by the show's audience, who were eager to see him appear in more episodes. He has become a stable character that the series simply could not continue without, thanks to his often absurd dialogue and hilarious one-liners. Moreover, the chemistry that was displayed by Spike and Buffy in the earlier seasons would soon take center stage in a display of love, obsession, and self-sacrifice. Season 5, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, starts off with kind of a silly episode, as Dracula himself shows up in Sunnydale. Spike continues to grace us with his amazing dialogue when he reveals that he and Dracula were old rivals, and that Dracula, that old bastard, owes him £11. Buffy's younger sister, Dawn, is first introduced in Season 5, Episode 2, when she unexpectedly enters the series. Even though Dawn is new to the show, those around her treat her as though she has always been there. I remember my reaction when I first saw this episode. I was so confused. I kept thinking I must have missed a few episodes or something, as the introduction of Dawn was so jarring. This, however, shows the creativity of the show as well as the trust it has in its audience. Glory is an ancient monster seeking a key to unlock a portal to the demon world, and she is the antagonist of Season 5. It would be revealed later on that Dawn is the key, as ancient monks would conceal the key in human form and deliver it to the Slayer in the form of her sister, assuming correctly that she would protect it with her life. As the season progresses, Spike starts to develop an unhealthy obsession with Buffy.
Seeing you every day, everywhere I go, every time I turn around. Take me out of a world that has you in it.
This was nothing new, as he was already obsessed with the idea of killing her, just like he killed 2 Slayers before her. But something was different about this.
Oh God, no. Please, no.
Buffy, on the other hand, has no idea of Spike's developing feelings. She despises him and is only tolerating him due to the chip rendering him helpless. Confused and horrified with his new feelings towards Buffy, Spike would go on to practically stalk her. This leads to some adorable scenes between the two.
Me get nothing but your hatred and your venom and your ungrateful bitch!
What are you doing in here?
And I never really liked you anyway, and you have stupid hair. As usual, I'm here to help you, and are you naked under there?
Get out.
No, I'm serious. I mean, not about the naked part, I mean...
His newfound feelings leads him to fight alongside Buffy more often in an effort to stay close to her, much to her annoyance. Spike's character would evolve slowly into a new man. In fact, Spike has moments where it's hard to recognize him. Gone was the selfish vampire that enjoyed killing and feeding on humans. The presence of the chip in his head and his feelings for Buffy would force him to work on himself. For example, when Buffy's mom starts showing signs of an illness, Spike is concerned and offers Buffy help, but there's nothing he can do, so he just sits with her on her porch while she cries. It was during this episode that I started to wonder if the feelings Spike has for Buffy are real. This moment of closeness drives Buffy to trust him a little bit more, leading her to leave her mom and her younger sister Dawn under his protection when Glory becomes a threat to them.
You're the only one strong enough to protect them.
While under his protection, he grows to care about Joyce and Dawn. When Spike is doing his usual shift of stalking Buffy outside of her house, he catches Dawn sneaking out on a mission to discover what is really happening. Worried that something might happen to her and for how that would make Buffy feel, he decides to join her to keep her out of harm's way. The night would end with Dawn discovering her true nature, which leaves her devastated. She runs off, forcing Buffy to look for her. It is here that we see Buffy once again confiding in Spike, and again he offers her comfort.
You'll find her.
All of this leads Spike to believe that he might actually have a chance with her, which results into his obsession, or love, to grow even more. Dawn, who grows attached to Spike, tells Buffy that he is hopelessly in love with her, but of course Buffy doesn't believe that the soulless Spike is capable of love. Later, Spike would go on to invent reasons to be around Buffy. When she confronts him about the way he is acting, he tries to confess his love for her, but she rejects him.
You don't know what feelings are.
I damn well do. I lie awake every night.
You sleep during the day.
This is real here. I love...
Don't say it.
This absolutely breaks his heart. Just when Spike is full of feelings of despair and self-pity, Drew shows up and tries to rekindle their relationship. Spike, however, sees this as an opportunity to prove his love for Buffy. He kidnaps both Drew and Buffy and tells Buffy that he will kill Drew for her. When that doesn't work, he threatens to unleash Drew on her. You can really sense his desperation here.
What the bleeding hell is wrong with you bloody women? What the hell does it take? Why do you bitches torture me?
He pleads with Buffy to admit that she has feelings for him too, but she doesn't. Spike doesn't lose hope though, still believing deep down she must have feelings for him, but it's obvious that he is confusing Buffy's tolerance of him for affection. The final confirmation of her feelings comes when she uninvites him from her house, quite literally shutting the door in his face. You can't help but feel bad for the character of Spike at this moment. He is trying to become a better version of himself, despite being a vampire and lacking a soul. When Buffy's mother dies in the tragic 17th episode of the season, Spike tries to leave flowers for her, but he is stopped by Buffy's friend Xander. Throughout this whole season, he has been trying in his own way to become a man that Buffy would want. Another instance of him trying to help is when a desperate Dawn, who is unable to cope with the sudden death of her mother, tries to bring her back using black magic. Obviously this doesn't go well, but Spike is desperate to help and is unable to see his friend Dawn in so much pain, so he goes through with it. Feeling alienated from Buffy as well as her friends, who he has become close to during this season, leaves him feeling desperate and he slips into his old ways. He approaches a character called Warren to make him a robot version of Buffy that would love him. He does this when Buffy is away on a spirit quest learning about being a Slayer. When the robot version of Buffy is confused for the real one, things get complicated. Spike would then be taken by Glory and tortured during this episode, in an effort to make him tell her where the key is, but he refuses to sell out Buffy and Dawn. Buffy, concerned for the safety of her sister, fools Spike into thinking that she is the robot and asks him if he told Glory about Dawn being the key. When she finds out that he didn't, she asks him why. He tells her he did it for Buffy. If anything were to happen to Dawn, it would break her heart, and he couldn't live knowing Buffy was in pain. At this, Buffy, the real Buffy, kisses him. This is the first time Buffy recognizes his effort to become a better man, and at this point, I was rooting for them. I mean, how could you not root for them to make it work? While this whole robot thing is horrible and wrong on so many levels, Spike shows real character here. Despite being thrown away by Buffy and her friends multiple times, he still chooses to protect them. When everything comes to an end during the final 2 episodes of the season, Spike fights alongside Buffy and her friends in order to prevent the world from ending. This season would conclude with Buffy sacrificing herself to close the demon portal and protect her younger sister, leaving her friends and Spike devastated. The final episode of Season 5 marked Buffy's 100th episode and was originally conceived as a series finale. However, after changing networks, Buffy the Vampire Slayer would come back for 2 more seasons. Chapter 5: Loss and Grief. The beginning of Buffy the Vampire Slayer's 6th season would highlight the difficulties that everyone is facing in the wake of Buffy's death. Overcome with grief, Spike would join Buffy's friends along with the Buffy bot in patrolling and fighting vampires. This goes as well as can be expected. Willow, who has become a powerful witch throughout the series, plans to resurrect Buffy using a spell with the help of Xander, Anya, and Tara. The gang believes Buffy's spirit is stuck in a hell dimension after her death and they must free her. While performing the spell, they get attacked by monsters and are unable to complete it. Thus, they assume that the spell didn't work, but it did, and Buffy is back. But she is now horrifyingly buried alive in her grave. Confused and terrified, Buffy would dig herself out of her grave thinking she was in hell. In a bit of absolutely brilliant writing, we discover that Buffy was in heaven, not in hell. She was happy, and she had peace.
I think I was in heaven. I was torn out of there by my friends.
Only to be torn from that peace by her friends to resume her life in the real world. A world where her mom just passed away, she is unable to go to college because she has a sister to support, and her Slayer duties. Buffy, worried about how her friends would feel if they found out the truth, hides this from them, and only confides in Spike. She begins to fall into a deep depression, unsure of her place in the world and overwhelmed with her Slayer responsibilities. Her friends are unable to help her since they are unaware of the truth. She becomes increasingly more distant from them and her younger sister. These feelings push her towards Spike, who is the only one she is able to have an honest conversation with. He tries to console her and make her feel better. They become drinking buddies, he takes her out to play poker, and the two get real close.
And the only person that I can even stand to be around is a neutered vampire who cheats at kitten poker.
During the musical episode of the season, which has some fantastic songs by the way, Spike's song stands out. It's by far my favorite. During his performance of the hauntingly beautiful Rest in Peace, he expresses his frustration with Buffy using him to misbehave. But till you do, I'm telling you, stop visiting my grave, let me rest in peace. I know I should go, but I follow you like a man possessed. There is a traitor here beneath my breast, and it hurts me more than you ever guessed. If my heart could beat, it would break my chest. But I can see you're unimpressed, so leave me be and let me rest in peace. Let me get some sleep, let me take my love and bury it in a hole 6 foot deep. I can lay my body down, but I can't find my sweet release. Let me rest in peace. Why won't you? Let me rest in peace. Spike tries to show Buffy the depth of his feelings for her. While he truly loves her, or at least he believes he does, she is using him as a distraction because she is unable to talk to her friends. He's aware of this, so he asks her to leave him alone, while at the same time he is unable to stay away from her. It betrays the contradiction love makes us feel, and the pure vulnerability of someone putting everything on the line for someone else, in the hopes of earning their love and their forgiveness. James's performance of the song is available on YouTube, and it definitely is worth seeing. Buffy confesses the truth to her friends in a song and becomes overcome with emotion, but Spike is there to calm her down. In the end of the episode, Spike and Buffy sing one last song, which ends in them kissing. However, the lines of Buffy's song reflect her actual feelings for him, with her singing, "I touch the fire and it freezes me. I look into its eyes and it's black. I know this isn't real, but I just want to feel." After the spell is broken, everything goes back to normal. Spike, feeling confused after what happened, seeks out Buffy to talk about it, but she is uninterested and tells him that it was a mistake and that it will never happen again.
We kissed, you and me. All gone with the wind, with the rising music and the rising music. And what was that, Buffy?
A spell?
Now, I really like the character of Buffy, and I obviously understand her struggle with coming back from death and everything, but her treatment of this man is so unfair. She says she can never be with him, but he is the first one she reaches out to when she is in trouble or she is unable to process her emotions, and then she goes and kisses him. So yeah, it's fair to say that Spike is a little bit confused at this point. Tensions escalate between the two and Spike continues to try to figure out things with Buffy. He pleads with her once again to admit that there is something between them. He tells her that a man can change, but her response to that is that he is not a man, he is a thing, referring to him being a soulless vampire. No matter how much he tries, that's all Buffy can see. This leads to a physical altercation between them where Spike discovers that he can harm Buffy without his chip interfering, resulting in both Buffy and Spike believing that she came back wrong.
Don't you get it? Don't you see? You came back wrong.
This is not an issue for Spike as he will love her either way. Buffy, on the other hand, struggles with this. She starts to feel ashamed, like she's somehow less human now. When Buffy was resurrected, she wasn't herself. She never regained her relationships or performed her Slayer duties as she did before her death. She instead just went through the motions of life. She was completely checked out at this point. On top of that, now finding out that there is something wrong with her leads her to develop a deep hatred for herself. Spike and Buffy get into another fight in the 10th episode of the season, appropriately titled as Wrecked. This fight leads to them getting intimate, except it's violent and it's disturbing. Spike of course is happy with this, but to Buffy, this is a new low that she has sunk into. She goes on to call him convenient and dirt, to which he responds to, "I may be dirt, but you are the one who likes to play with it, Slayer." You got to love Spike's one-liners. The final straw comes for Spike when he realizes that Buffy is ashamed of him, as she threatens to kill him if he tells anyone about what happened. Not one to let rejections, or multiple rejections, stand in his way, Spike continues his unsuccessful attempts to be with Buffy. Meanwhile, Buffy continues to use him as a distraction from all of her problems. Things turn dark quickly for Buffy when she is led to believe that she took the life of an innocent girl. She immediately decides to confess and turn herself to the police. I believe this is just another way for her to escape her life, a life she's not happy with. Scared of losing her, Spike tries to reason with her. He tells her that she saves lives every day and that one dead girl doesn't tip the scale.
A girl is dead because of me.
And how many people are alive because of you? How many have you saved? One dead girl doesn't tip the scale.
Angry and frustrated, Buffy takes out all of her anger and her shame onto him, hitting him non-stop while she projects all of her inner feelings onto him.
There is nothing good or clean in you. You are dead inside.
He is the monster that has no soul, that doesn't care about anything, that can't feel anything. Spike doesn't fight back, and when she is done, he reminds her that we hurt the ones we love. Desperate for answers and believing herself to be a demon, she asks the witch Tara for help. Tara looks into the spell that resurrected her, but she finds nothing. She explains that when she came back from death, it altered her just enough to confuse the chip in Spike's head, but that she is not a demon, and she has a soul, and is the same Buffy that she always been. Buffy is confronted here with the fact that she can't hide behind the excuse of being a demon anymore. She has to accept responsibility for her actions, and that is terrifying for her. She can't believe she is the same girl she always been, because her actions don't reflect that. This doesn't stop her though from continuing to use Spike. When her ex Riley shows up back in town with a new girlfriend, Buffy deals with the feelings of jealousy and regret by running to Spike to make herself feel better, ignoring how that would make him feel, as she only sees him as a dead man with no feelings.
Tell me you love me.
I love you. You know I do.
No more games? That's all you've ever done is play me. You keep playing with the rules, you make up as you like.
Buffy finally deals with her internal struggle in the 15th episode of season 6, where she would have an honest conversation with Spike. She admits to using him and apologizes. Realizing this means that their relationship is over, he is once again left feeling devastated. He seeks out Anya at the magic shop looking for a spell to make himself feel better. Instead, him and Anya connect over their heartbreak, and they end up getting together. This, for some reason, hurts Buffy's feelings. When Xander confronts Anya about sleeping with Spike, he expresses his disgust at her for letting that soulless dead thing touch her. Spike responds whether it was good enough for Buffy, and this marks the end of any relationship the pair could have had. The next episode is really hard to talk about. In a scene devoted of any music, Spike shows up to apologize to a physically hurt Buffy. Not interested in his apology and still hurt from him sleeping with Anya, she asks him to leave, but he doesn't. He spirals out of control and tries to force himself on her, in a scene that was really hard to watch. How does one come back from that? Well, Spike gets a soul, of course. In his last scene of the season, Spike seeks out an ancient demon in Africa who can give him what he desires most. Viewers of the show would naturally assume that what Spike desires is the removal of his chip and going back to his old villainous ways. But as we find out in the next season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, what he desires most is a soul, the one thing that might make Buffy love him. Fans of the series, and me to be honest, believe that this season of Buffy went too far. I struggled to watch the episode Seeing Red, where Spike tries to assault Buffy. I have grown attached to her character, and the previous 4 seasons worked hard to make me like Spike too, so I hated watching this. Thankfully, when I watched this season when I was younger, I didn't understand it. Honestly, I didn't even remember it. But now I see that the creator of the series wanted to remind the audience that Spike still had some evil in him. But there were so many other ways he could have done that. He had successfully turned Angel into Angelus during the 2nd season, while still making him somewhat likable, which in turn made his redemption arc easier to accept. But this? How can you come back from this? The fans were not the only ones horrified with this season. In an interview with the AV Club, James Marsters can be quoted as saying, "In 6, I really got afraid to read the script because I was going to have to do whatever they thought of, to whoever they thought of. There were just no rules anymore, and I was truly terrified." What frustrates me even more is the lack of consequences for this scene. I went into season 7 thinking I would hate Spike, that he would be evil and Buffy wouldn't want anything to do with him, but I soon found out otherwise. Finally, the relationship between Spike and Buffy felt so genuine as the season began. Other than the hiccup with the Buffy bot last season, I actually believed that he loved her, but the writing drove me crazy. There were so many ups and downs that I got confused trying to piece everything together for this video. What started out as a story about love and finding purpose quickly shifted to just a physical connection that has a lot of violent and disturbing undertones. Chapter 6: Redemption and Sacrifice. Season 7 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer brings about the conclusion of this iconic series. The big bad this season is known as the First Evil, a spiritual entity that has existed before time itself, far more powerful than anything Buffy has ever faced. This entity resurfaces due to Buffy's recent death, or more specifically, her resurrection. The First Evil, while unable to take a physical form as it can only appear in the image of someone who has already died, has many ways to achieve its goal of bringing about the end of the world. Its main objective seems to be the eradications of the Slayers and their Watcher. Caleb, a psychotic woman-hating preacher, and his cult of bringers slaughter potential Slayers with the help of the Turok Khan, the original vampires. You know, vampires minus the good looks and the leathery jackets. These monsters are extremely strong, and when Buffy first encounters one, she barely escapes with her life. This thing gave me some serious nightmares when I was little. Meanwhile, Dawn begins her first year of high school in Sunnydale. Buffy is naturally concerned since the school has a deadly history and is located atop of the Hellmouth. She takes a job as the school counselor to keep an eye on Dawn and protect her if need be. Ghosts begin to appear in the school, and Buffy, while investigating their appearance, runs into a familiar character in the basement of the school, Spike, who now has a soul, but he seems to be a little bit off or while acting crazy. Struggling with all the guilt and remorse of his past evil actions, he is taken advantage of by the First Evil, who appears to him in the form of Drusilla and Buffy, manipulating him to get closer to the Slayer. Under the influence of the First Evil, Spike shows up at Buffy's house and offers to help her with the coming fight. Buffy accepts this, unaware of him having a soul, or that he is being puppeted by the First Evil. As Spike continues to get crazy, Buffy confronts him, and through cryptic dialogue he reveals to her that he got his soul back. When she asks him why, he admits that it was for her.
They put the spark in me, and now all it does is burn.
Your soul.
He underwent the demon trials to become the man that Buffy deserves, a man who can never hurt her. Referring to last season's disturbing bathroom scene, he is then literally crucified for his actions, in hopes of regaining the audience's favor and forgiveness for his previous sins. I was still on the fence with Spike at this point. It had only been 2 episodes and I was watching these seasons back to back, so the bathroom scene was still very much fresh in my mind. Making Spike pathetic or crazy, for lack of better words, wasn't gonna win me over. But my feelings toward his character would change slowly, as the show portrays the changes in Spike quite well. Angel and Spike are the only 2 vampires in the Buffyverse who have souls. When we look back at Angel's history, we discover that he got his soul forced on him. He never wanted it. It was a punishment for all of his evil actions, and he spent the better part of 100 years trying to cope with its presence. While Spike, on the other hand, chose to get his soul back when he was unable to come to terms with what he did to Buffy last season. Not only that, but Spike had changed before he got his soul back. He was working with Buffy throughout season 6, fighting evil and protecting her little sister. Furthermore, during season 5, he helped stop the end of the world. He did that while being a soulless vampire. He did that for love. All this shows that while Spike is not the perfect hero, he never stopped. Buffy, who is not sure of her feelings toward him, is unable to abandon him in the basement. She asks Xander to keep an eye on him, and the 2 become roommates once again. This initially seems to really help Spike regain control of himself, but when Buffy's out patrolling, she faces off against a newly formed vampire, who tells her that Spike sired him. This leaves Buffy and the audience confused. Spike shouldn't be able to do this anymore due to the presence of his soul and his chip. Here is when we discover how far the First Evil was able to manipulate the vulnerable Spike. In a nutshell, the First Evil has been using a trigger, a song that Spike's mom used to sing to him as a baby as a method of unleashing his inner monster. When that song is sung, Spike blacks out and is turned into a killing machine. He commits a dozen of murders and sires an army of vampires. The first evil is able to do so due to the guilt that Spike feels towards his mother. He effectively killed her twice, once when he turned her into a vampire and then once again when he staked her. All of his guilt and remorse is amplified by the presence of his new soul, rendering him extremely vulnerable, a fact that the first evil takes full advantage of. Buffy, suspicious of Spike, follows him one night while he is out. She sees him approach a girl, but she loses them in the crowds. She confronts him about the possibility of him killing that innocent girl, but he has no idea what she's talking about. The two of them have a conversation which ended with Spike kind of winning me over. I started to like his character again.
This chip, they did to me. I couldn't help it. But the soul I got on my own. For you.
Doubting himself, Spike goes into his own investigation to prove that he was not what Buffy accused him of being. But he soon realizes that she is right, as he starts having flashbacks of all of the people he killed. He asks Buffy to meet him at the house where he buried all of the bodies, but when Buffy shows up, so does the first evil, taking the form of Spike and once again manipulating him into attacking Buffy.
How could you use a poor maid?
Spike!
Buffy, having seen how quickly Spike changed into a monster and his lack of memories afterwards, realizes that the first evil is controlling him. She locks him up in her house in an effort to learn more about what the first evil wants from him. But when he is triggered again inside of Buffy's house, he pleads with her to just kill him, explaining that he can't live with another death, not with him having a soul. But Buffy refuses to do so. She tells him that she has seen the change in him and that she believes in him. This moment would be the driving force for all of his actions for the remaining season. And this is the moment where I think I forgave his character. It wasn't by making him pathetic or crucifying him that I started to feel for him. It was by Buffy seeing his soul and accepting it, that I was actually rooting for them to work it out once again. The first evil is not done with Spike. It wants its favorite toy back, which is why it kidnaps him and tortures him both physically and mentally. It appears to him first in the form of Drusilla, but when that doesn't work, it opts for the image of Buffy, taunting him that she doesn't love him, that she would never come for him because she doesn't care enough to save him. Whether it's because she is finally starting to have feelings for him or because she believes him to be the only one to be strong enough to have her back, Buffy's determined to rescue Spike, much to the disappointment of pretty much all of her friends. The knowledge of Buffy's belief in him is enough to keep Spike going. He refuses to let evil take hold of him again. In a sad moment, when Buffy is finally able to come to his rescue, he doesn't believe it's her, thinking this was just another attempt of the first evil to toy with him. It takes him a few moments to realize that it's really her, but when he does, it's obvious that these two's connection is stronger than ever.
Is that right? Why's that then?
Because I'm not ready for you to not be here.
Buffy's watcher, Giles, turns Buffy's home into a safe house for all the potential slayers, in an effort to keep them safe. Spike helps Buffy train them and becomes her right hand, as she trusts him now more than ever despite the trigger still being active. This is proven more when Spike's chips begins to degrade, causing him extreme pain and threatening to kill him. Desperate to help him, Buffy makes a call to the initiative. She is then offered a choice to either replace the chip or remove it altogether. In a show of how much she has grown to have faith in Spike, she opts to remove the chip from his head. This, however, drives a wedge between her and Giles, who still believes Spike to be dangerous. Which is fair to say, since just a few episodes ago he was a serial killer working for the first evil. Giles sees an opportunity to get rid of Spike when it's revealed that the new principal, Robin Wood, is the son of the Slayer Nikki Wood, and that she is one of the Slayers that Spike has killed previously. Giles and Robin work together to distract Buffy and ambush Spike. Robin uses the song to trigger Spike and he fights him, but during the struggle, Spike works out his issues with his dead mother in a series of flashbacks, which renders the trigger ineffective.
When I sired her, I set loose a demon, and it tore into me. But it was a demon talking, not her.
Giles' involvement in this plan leaves Buffy to feel like she can't trust him, and their relationship is broken even more. Tensions rise when more and more potential Slayers show up seeking the protection of Buffy. Faith, another Slayer who Buffy has a complicated history with, shows up too in Sunnydale to help fight against the apocalypse. The situation is made even worse when Caleb, the preacher, shows up. Endowed with the strength of the first evil, he is able to lure Buffy, Faith, and the potential Slayers into a trap. which has horrible consequences. A lot of Slayers are murdered, and Xander loses an eye. Buffy deals with this by distancing herself, worried that her emotions would lead her to make more mistakes. She doesn't comfort Xander, she never bothers to learn the potential Slayers' names, and takes a commander's role, focusing only on the mission. This leads to everyone losing trust in Buffy. Giles, who still doesn't trust Spike to be around, sends him on a mission, and when Buffy wants to go back to Caleb's place to try to take him once again, everyone turns on her, believing her to be reckless and her actions to cause unnecessary deaths. Deaths which she appeared to not care about. This leads to a mutiny against her. Everyone pushes her out, and they choose Faith as their new leader. Dawn even asks Buffy to leave the house. When Spike is back, he is understandably furious with their treatment of Buffy, and gets into a fight with Faith before leaving to try to find her.
She has saved your lives again and again. She has died for you. And this is how you thank her.
Why don't you take it down?
He finds her in an abandoned house, having given up completely. Still believing in her, he reminds her of who she is. He gives a speech that made this episode my favorite of the season.
100+ years. And there's only one thing I've ever been sure of. You.
He tells her that he has seen the best and worst of her and still loved her throughout. And that when he says he loves her, it's not because he wants her or because he can't have her. It has nothing to do with him and everything to do with her, the woman she is, the Slayer. She asks him to stay and hold her, and he does. He later refers to that night of just holding her and watching her sleep as the best night of his life. Spike gives her the strength she needs to take on Caleb and claim an ancient weapon that will be at the heart of the upcoming battle. When Faith's leadership skills doesn't prove to be any better than Buffy's as she falls into another trap, Buffy comes back with the weapon she needs as well as trust in herself, with Spike by her side. And then of course, Angel shows up. Happy to see him, Buffy kisses him, with Spike lurking in the shadows. Angel gives Buffy a necklace that is meant to be worn by someone with more than human strength and is endowed with a soul. He assumes that to be him, so he offers to stay and help Buffy with the coming fight, but she refuses, saying if the evil gets past her, he has to be the second line of defense. The two of them then have a conversation about Spike, where Buffy says that while he is not exactly her boyfriend, he is in her heart. When Buffy returns from meeting Angel, Spike asks her for the necklace. She gives it to him, and the two spend one more night together. At the finale of the series, Spike would sacrifice himself to save Sunnydale and the world by closing the Hellmouth once and for all. His amulet channels the power of the sun, killing the army of vampires as well as Spike in the process. In his final moments, Buffy tells him that she loves him. He responds with, "No you don't, but thanks for saying that." In his death and sacrifice, Spike is finally the hero. He is someone that Buffy could love, and he is redeemed in the eyes of Buffy and the viewers. Of course, he would come back in season 5 of the spin-off series Angel, but that's a story for another day.
Spike.
Blondie Bear?